The primary purpose of Innovative AAC Solutions, the podcast, is to educate and inform. The views expressed during all episodes are solely those of the individuals involved and do not constitute educational or medical advice. They are not necessarily the views of Special School District of St. Louis County. Hey guys, welcome back to Innovative AAC Solutions, the podcast. I'm Laura Hayes.
And I'm Cheryl Livingston.
And we've almost wrapped up the season, Cheryl. Can you believe it?
We're getting close. It's amazing how fast this year has gone.
Hopefully it hasn't been slow for our listeners. Hopefully they have enjoyed the episodes we've brought and they will enjoy these last 2 episodes because we are down to the final 2 before we break for summer.
Yep.
So is your fun find today related to summer?
No.
Okay.
Okay. So for some reason, can't explain for sure why, I have been kind of talking about feelings. And this past week, I was working on the News to You newspaper. It's for the week that we're recording. It's the new movie, The Bad Guys.
Oh, yeah.
Which I haven't watched it yet, but I've seen the commercials. So that's what the News to You article was about. So I was finding and sharing some of the trailers for that particular movie. So, that's fun to do, just kind of watch and see what's going on. And I happened to be watching one of them with my sound turned off. I have to, make sure my computer's not disturbing my office mates. And I was like, we should be doing this as an activity. So what I want to propose to everybody is any video. It doesn't have to be about this movie, but this movie, I think, is dealing with a lot of emotions because these are some bad characters. But I think from what I can tell, they turn themselves around. So I think it's going to end well. But like I said, I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to I can't give away the ending. I don't know what it is. But just the idea that there's a lot of emotion that you can kind of see in this action-packed movie. And my thought was and I put this in some of you may have already done this by now, but I put in the suggestions to keep the volume off, just watch it, and then let's talk about what they might be feeling, what they might be saying, what they might be, telling each other as far as, they look like they're kind of aggressive sometimes towards each other when they're talking. But let's talk about it with the visual, not the auditory. Because again, I think sometimes we get very passive and we just sit and watch something and we take it in. But do we then have a chance to put it back out? And my big thought here was don't let them have a say over kind of how we're perceiving it. Let's come up with that on our own. So between talking about feelings, and I have to say, I know feelings are hard to put into words. And a lot of times people will say, especially parents, I just want to know what he's feeling. That's hard. And I can attest to that's hard. But are we giving our kids a variety of things as far as vocabulary goes, a variety of even emotions to know about, not necessarily personally in the moment, but about. So I think we should be doing a lot more delving into how other people feel and what other things might cause somebody to feel that way and what their face looks like when they feel that way, but make it an activity, fun, let's just kind of joke about, tease about, laugh about, rather than it being so serious. And I worry that sometimes we make the feeling stuff so serious that our kids aren't necessarily getting to grow with all that vocabulary. So that's my fun find. I came upon that, just recently, and I wanted to make sure I shared it.
Well, I love that. And I think, I've heard from a few different people, circling around this idea of feelings and how can we talk about feelings before they're escalated. And I know Disney just had the other movie Turning Red just came out, and then you could even go back to Inside Out, and Inside Out is a great one about feelings. So just kind of like you said, can we turn the volume off and can we just kind of ad lib it? And now I've even noticed that if you go to YouTube, you can actually clip a video, and so you could take like a little chunk of it. So I'm thinking that regardless of the age range of our student or the interest level, like just taking a little clip of their favorite YouTube video and like turning on mute or just ad-libbing that video of what it could look like. And then talking about
isn't that why GIFs? Which one is it, Laura? Which one what do you say?
Initially, I said GIFs, but I was corrected, and I think it's
Oh,
GIFs now.
it is GIFs. Okay. Jiffy peanut butter now is going to be stuck in my head. But that's, I think, what's so fun about those is a lot of times there isn't, it's a visual. It's somebody doing something or making a face. And that's what I think we relate to that. So yeah, let's make those for our kids. That's a good idea.
But it's so much more dynamic too than just the picture cards of or labeling like what is this person feeling sad? What is this person feeling happy? I just think even with my daughter, we have a little baby book of feelings, and I'm like, tired kind of looks like sad. Like every time I do that book with her, I'm like, that baby could be, or excited, could also be surprised, and vice versa. I'm like, they're not. When it's a still image, it's not as cut and dry as we when we read it. We're like, oh yeah, okay, that could be associated with it. But I think,
and I remember hearing, I think was it Rachel Dorsey? Maybe she's autistic SLP, and so she's done a great job of helping us have a better insight into things. And I'm not positive it was her, but somebody shared with how a feeling was described to them, and so that was the term they used. When really after they, again, just more knowledge, more awareness, they were like, that's not what I was feeling. So maybe the word was like anxiety or something. And it's like, no, I called it anxiety, but it really was, more of a scared feeling. It was more of a looming of dread, or, it's just, there's different ways that we talk about things. And I think sometimes we put our words into our kids' mouths versus helping them to have a better way to understand it themselves.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I am going to take your fun find as a jumping off point, because you mentioned, utilizing that concept of identifying feelings. What if we had a really fun app that would be super engaging, that we could import an image of an animal, and that animal we could ad lib and we could record voices so the animal talks, and maybe we talk about the animal's feelings and or the animal comments on something. And I'm not just talking about Talking Tom. I know most people know the Talking Tom, really annoying cat that does stuff and you can manipulate him. Maybe other people don't find him annoying. I find him a little annoying. I'm talking about the Talking Pet app. It's called My Talking Pet app. And I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about, because it is a really cute app that I think everybody, myself and yourself included, would find super fun and engaging to target some of our language concepts, Cheryl. So when you look at the screenshots, it's available on any iOS, so iPhone, iPad, iMessage, all of that. Okay. And you can upload an image of a pet, and this could be a cat, this could be a dog, this could be a guinea pig, like think a turtle, like if you have a class turtle pet, and you can make them say anything. So you record voices, you like record a voiceover, and you can change the intonation, the speed, the pitch. You can give them, you can dress them up with images. Yes, yes. And so then their mouths move as they talk, so it actually looks like they're talking to you. And I just think it'd be so fun, like, because we can make them say anything we want, right? So how motivating, thinking very similar to anybody that's motivated by virtual reality apps, like how fun would this be for them?
I have not seen that. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that looks fun.
Yeah. So
just on the hours of entertainment, but again, not just for entertainment purposes. I want to make it, of course, therapeutic purposes. So I can see how much would our kids be engaged with adding to this? They tell us what it should be saying. They tell us how it should look. I mean, it shouldn't be us doing it for them. It should be them doing it with us. That's wonderful.
Yes. And then once they have that message that they've decided that this is what the animal is going to say, you can actually send it out as an email, or if they're on Facebook, they can send it out on Facebook to somebody, and then that person can talk back to them. So it is super multimedia engagement at its finest. I'm so excited about it. It would be one of my main go-tos if I was doing direct therapy right now. It's so fun. So do you think, let me ask you this, because you did our interview this week. Do you think that this teacher that you did an interview with, do you think that she and her students might enjoy something like this?
Oh, I know they would. I have met her students, and yes, this is right up their alley. I got to interview a teacher, but I also consider her a friend. In fact, I guess everybody we've talked to, we've considered a friend, haven't we, Laura? but her name is Beth Partney, and she is a SSD special ed teacher in the Rockwood School District. And for all the years that I have been working with her, she has been that classroom that I want to go hang out in. I just want to be there. And it's been an open door policy. So those of you that know me, sometimes I like to just pop in if I'm in the neighborhood, and Beth is one of those places that she's like, sure, come on, hang out. And of course, we get into all kinds of discussions about things, but the kiddos that she's supporting has had in the previous years, but especially this year, yes, they are much into fun. They're all into sharing, and she does a great job with Pod in the classroom. And so, yeah, I can see this be definitely right up their alley. And for, it to, again, just kind of like spread from there, go into all kinds of different settings and things that she could facilitate them using that at home and getting a lot more carryover with communication.
I love it. Well, let's all sit back and listen to your interview with Beth Partney.
Hi, guys. This is Cheryl Livingston with AAC Innovation Solutions, and I have a good friend with me today. She's a teacher that I support in the Rockwood School District, and her name is Beth Partney. Welcome, Beth.
Hi, thank you, Cheryl.
I wanted to spend some time with Beth today because I think she's a phenomenal teacher, and I get to see a lot of teachers, so that means a lot when I, brag on somebody. So Beth, you're definitely one of the ones that I have seen over the years. We've worked together for several years now. How long have you been with the district?
7 years.
In Rockwood, right?
In Rockwood, yeah.
When you came to Rockwood. Okay, yeah. So the whole time you've been with Rockwood, I've got to work with you. And definitely every time I go in, and Beth has one of those rooms that I can just pop into. There's been times that I've been in the neighborhood and I'm like, I wonder what's going on over at Woerther. So she's always been welcoming, and we always find something to chat about and some stories to share. So I appreciate that. But Beth, tell us about yourself. Kind of give us the rundown of what's been the life of Beth Partney for all these years.
Okay. Well, like you said, I'm Beth Partney. I am a teacher in Rockwood at Woerther Elementary School, and I have a self-contained functional skills classroom. Before I came to Woerther, I had another self-contained room over at Fairway, and then before that, I was in Hillsborough, and I had autism, emotional disturbances, and behavior disorders all in one room. It was a fun mix.
Was that elementary also?
Yeah, it was elementary. Their elementary school was just 3rd and 4th grade. So I just did 3rd and 4th graders. Okay. Yeah, and then we ranged anything from resource to self-contained in that room. So yeah, and then that's kind of, having that behavior classroom is what led me into the field of ABA. So, I'm also a board certified behavior analyst, and I am a licensed behavior analyst in the state of Missouri. Okay. So, I guess, having that functional skills classroom kind of gives me the best of both worlds. I still get to teach and then just kind of use my behavior analysis in everything that we do in the classroom.
Yeah. And we're going to get into that because that's a unique combination that you are bringing to the table that I want to explore. So prior to teaching, kind of where'd you grow up? What's your background as far as school and stuff goes?
Okay, so I grew up in St. Louis in Shrewsbury. So I went through the Wexboro School District and went to school at Truman State, where I got my undergraduate in psychology. My graduate degree is in special education at Truman State. And I loved every minute of it. It's a great program. And then got my first teaching job in Hillsborough. So I moved out to Hillsborough, Missouri, because I was tired of the commute. It was a long commute. Yeah. And so then I had, it's like 5 minutes to get to work. And then while I was out there, met my husband, and we got married, and I am a stepmom to 5 beautiful children, I have 13-year-old twin boys, 15-year-old boy, 18-year-old boy, and a 20-year-old young woman. And she's engaged. And then, so we live out in Hillsborough, and now I commute.
The opposite way. Well, that's what, and I wasn't sure if you grew up in that area or how that, but I know you have the commute, and I know you have a love of horses because I was, at just different times we've been together. I know things about horses have come up. So, and I was kind of like, well, Shrewsbury, she probably didn't have a horse in Shrewsbury. So,
No, I bought, let's see. So I bought Chance 6 years ago, and he's 14, but I've known him since he was 2. A good friend of mine trained him and raised him and then sold him to me. So, and then working for the Girl Scouts. So I used to teach horseback riding and lead trail rides and teach basic horsemanship skills. Okay.
Because I had, and Beth had to correct me because one of the things I was like, well, you do hypnotherapy, right? You do the horses and the special ed. And she's like, no, but that's probably what I was thinking was the Girl Scouts. And, you're branching out as far as being a support to the community. So yeah, that's where I got that idea. Okay. All right. Well, that's great. Cause
I just ride for fun.
Yeah. No. And again, I love that, you've got, I don't know if you still do, but you had your room decorated with kind of looking like a stable door and things like that, I thought, oh, that's just cool. It's just another aspect that, you can bring to the table. I can't, we had a Shetland pony when I was a kid. My dad thought we needed to be around, and my grandparents had a farm. So that's where the pony lived, but I didn't care about the ponies. I think Dad was disappointed. All right. So tell us about the classroom that you have this year. Tell us about your kids.
Okay. So I have, it's a K-5 self-contained functional skills classroom, like I said. So this year I have 2 4th graders, and they've been with me since kindergarten. And they actually were the ones that we opened the classroom with. So the classroom has only been around for 5 years, and they started our 2 4th graders. So our OGs. Yeah. And then I also have 4 1st graders. And so we just have, it's a wide range. So just a lot of significant and complex disabilities and complex communicators. So we work on, so it's functional skills. And so lots of activities of daily living. Our big focus is communication, independence, and mobility. Those are my 3 top priorities. And then obviously, your pre-readiness and your pre-academic skills as well. And so it's such a unique classroom, and I love it. We do things a little bit differently in this classroom. All of our therapists push into my classroom. So, your typical speech, language, PT, OT, orientation and mobility, vision instruction, typically pull out, when you have resource, or even your typical just cross-cat self-contained classrooms, but all of our therapists push in. And we do, a lot of group therapy. And so myself and all of my paras are getting trained by those therapists. And then there's a lot of carryover. So then we are working on the very same skills that the therapists are doing, so that, while it's not physical therapy or language therapy, when we're doing it, we are implementing those same practices all throughout our day. And it helps with generalization of skills. We're able to do it in our classroom as well as in the general education classroom. And I think it's a very effective model. I've seen just some tremendous gains from our kids doing it this way. So it's just really neat. And it's so great to see their progress. So, this is why she's my favorite classroom. Because again, I consider you a communication classroom. I mean, every one of your students is working on their ability to communicate independently, advocate for themselves, initiate the whole gamut. And you guys have embraced that with every person in that room, and that is making a difference. And I wish we could carbon copy you and send that throughout the district. So we have I'm sorry, I should have said this. So we have, all 6 of my students use some sort of augmentative and alternative communication. So 5 of my students are using POD, so Pragmatic Organizational Dynamic Display.
That's right.
And we are using the paper-based system. And then I have 1 LAMP user. And then one of my students who is also using POD, using partner assisted scanning because he is blind, we have an 8-cell tech talk that we're also using with him. And we're working on our 2nd overlay now. So that's really great.
That's great. Yes.
So it's great because, I love seeing the wide variety, but I'll be completely honest, it can be challenging at times because, when I'm teaching my group and I'm trying to model, there's 3 different systems to model all at once. So we have to kind of take turns and, all of the paras we're in the process of training all of our paras on all the different systems because it can be complex to switch from one communication mode to the next on a dime. So it's a constant work in progress, I will say.
and I don't have a fix because we match our systems that we're recommending to the students. So everybody's got a little different thing. But what I love about the fact that you've embraced POD as your main communication to the students, you're modeling language, even though it doesn't match their particular system, you're modeling the concepts that we need to teach. And that's what I think has been so powerful. So remember back when you first heard about POD, how has it evolved from that to this as far as, and you were very open, very like, oh, what is this, Cheryl? What are you talking about? Again, it's just something you embraced wholeheartedly. So what kind of stuff was going through your head through that process?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I can still remember back to that training with you. It was something about, it was AAC for beginning and emergent communicators or something. And you exposed us to so many different things. It was my first year with the classroom. So I was, trying to take in all the PD that I could, and I just remember sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, this is what's going to be so great for my 2 who are now 4th graders.
Yeah.
This is where we're going.
Yeah.
And I remember after that class saying, Cheryl, this is what we need to do. So I think, my excitement is definitely still there. I'm always looking for new ways to incorporate it. My fluency with it has definitely increased. And this is something that, I share with my paras, use that oops, don't. I actually we just had that conversation yesterday because I saw them kind of thumbing through trying to find where they're going. And I said, no. Commit, touch the button, say the name, and switch, just like you would with LAMP. You can't thumb through, right? You have to touch it and commit. That's the same thing. And if you make a mistake, just like in LAMP, when you would go back, same thing with POD. You say, oops, and you go back, and it's great to model that so that they know it's okay to make mistakes too. And then they know what to do also. So I think my excitement is still there. I love teaching about it. And it's just been so neat to see them grow. And goodness. So we knew that's where we wanted them to go. Right. And we started with tangible symbols because we were not at that level, at the picture communication level. Those 2D symbols meant nothing to our students. So we had to back it down and we did the tangible symbols. And I think what really helped kind of get that momentum moving was it wasn't just our classroom and it wasn't just the SLP, but we collaborated constantly. We planned our words of the week, our words of the month, and we found every opportunity that we could to model in every way. And we focused on core vocabulary, that biggest bang for your buck. So instead of focusing on the nouns, like with your labeling and your requesting, while that is very important and we still incorporate that, also working on that core vocabulary and that kind of being our focus. And once the students grasped the tangible system and realizing, oh, this object, this whatever object, has a meaning. When I touch this or when I grab it from my teacher, and let's say it's the all done symbol.
Mhm.
We used what did we use? It was a red cap, like from a peanut butter lip.
Yes.
That was all done, and I had them everywhere.
Mhm.
And when I touch this, that means all done, and it stops.
And they walk away. They go. Yeah.
Or I get a break. And so,
Yeah.
and that was a big part of getting the buy-in from all of our teachers, all of our parents, from everybody that was working with them. We honor it. I know that you want to have this conversation, or I know you want to do this lesson, but if they touch that, we're done. We're done for a couple of minutes. And then
that's the part that I always throw out is like, I want us to definitely, and again, it's all about having power. It's all about feeling respected. And and again, when you get the kiddos, they've already 5 or 6 years of maybe not feeling like people are listening to them. So all of a sudden now they're like, oh, she's listening. The walk away, the break, the stop, whatever, you're doing doesn't have to be forever. It's not like, oh, well, he's refusing to do his work. It's like, no, you give him a minute, you let him go. Whew. Because we all do this. I don't think, I sometimes worry that we as adults don't appreciate how much we do to each other. And we honor, we say, but I'll do a more subtle kind of like, oh, excuse me, and I'll turn and do something else. And you'll be like, okay, Cheryl's coming back. It's okay. I didn't tell you to get lost. I just said, give me a minute, and so we do it. And I don't feel in the past, we have let our kids have that feeling of, oh, they're listening to me. Oh, okay. And again, that's that sense of I've got some control here, and like I said, they like it. They appreciate that. Yeah.
Positive reinforcement at its finest.
That's right.
Yeah.
But again, in a way, yeah. But you're reinforcing the fact that they spoke up for themselves. You're not reinforcing the fact that they did 10 turns or whatever.
Right. Exactly. And eventually you get there.
Yes.
I've had a lot of success. I mean, I'm thinking of one student in particular. We wrote a behavior plan because we had some pretty significant maladaptive and aggressive behavior. Mm-hmm. And so part of that was teaching that all done specifically and honoring that request every time and having a specific protocol. So when he would tell us all done, we honored it immediately. He got a minute break. We come back and we start again. And at the very beginning, it was as soon as he sat down or was going to the table, all done. Okay. And I remember just seeing the look on some of the practitioners' faces, like, I really have to do this again, Beth. I'm like, you got it. Like, come on. And so in a 30-minute session, they'd maybe get 2 minutes, completely total. But now, and we started this, I revamped the behavior plan and we started it again last year. So it's been a year and now we're getting through half an hour sessions with him and we're able to, and it's like, oh, one more, then we can go, or not yet. And he's okay with that. So
he trusts you. Yeah. Now he trusts the system to be like, okay, they are listening. They know I'm getting done, but we quickly hurry up. We'll get through this. So that's the piece that it changes because you have that connection. You have that trust, right?
Yep. Absolutely. So it's wonderful. I hope like that. There's my unsolicited advice for the day, right? Trust the process and database decisions, and you can track it. Is it working? Mm-hmm. Are you seeing, we saw a big decrease. We're at, if I remember correctly, I think we have decreased, let's see, he's had an 87% behavioral reduction.
Oh, wow.
It's incredible. And I mean, he's able to sit through an entire session willingly without asking it to be all done now, and he enjoys it. And he's had a lot of success.
Well, and the time that he's sitting and participating isn't that he's just being compliant. He's learning now all these activities that you're doing. He's learning through that because he can sit and be a part of it. Whereas before he's engaged.
He's engaged and he's enjoying it, so thank you. That's a really good point, Cheryl. It's not sitting there for compliance sake. We never do that for compliance. It's for, we want them to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. We want them to be engaged and, be able to be independent and telling us what it is that they need.
And he feels proud of himself because now he can do this, and this, whereas before. And again, he hasn't got the big picture. He doesn't know for sure what we're shooting for, but he does see that, oh, Yeah. Okay. That was pretty cool. So yeah, no, and it takes a process. Well, speaking of big picture, so that's my next question. Okay. So we're going to live in this magic world now where anything we say can happen. What's your ultimate, when you think about your kiddos, and I'm thinking about the guys just right now, because we don't know for sure what next year is going to bring, what combination we're going to have. What's the ultimate, when you're planning, what do you plan for those students as far as their lives?
That is such a great question, Cheryl. So, I will say my outlook on this was forever changed after going through my ABA training. So I just have to preface it with that, because when I did the majority of my practicum was in a day facility for adults with developmental disabilities. So it was all post-grad. And some of the things, like just some of our new clients that we would get, it was just heartbreaking to see, like, how did you go through the whole school system and we're here, right? So I always like to think back to that. And then, so I really do try and think big picture. So that is why, like, for me, in the beginning, when I said independence, mobility, communication, not in that order, but
right.
That is my big picture, because I think about, you think about just the services that are available to adults after school, and it's like after graduation, and sometimes it's just heartbreaking to me. Sometimes just some of the limitations, and you think about, I've seen clients get kicked out of facility after facility after facility because of whether it's toileting, behavior, lack of communication, those sorts of things. And then they have nowhere to go. That's realistic, especially when you're thinking about, our functional skills classes and with our extremely complex communicators. And, so I like to think about that. That's why it's that independence and communication. They need to be able to tell us what's going on. They need to be able to do things independently. So that is my big picture for them, is just getting them. So, and just happiness, being able to be successful and happy and have a purpose, feel like they have a purpose. So that's I think.
And again, so I have been kind of looking at, but just yesterday we had our department meeting, and the couple ladies from Charting Your Life course came and talked to us. So I'm really excited about that, because and this has been one of my concerns, and I'm old and crabby and, been a speech pathologist for 150 years. So, and I've been in those settings, what you were just describing. When I worked for a previous employer, I was going into group homes. I was going into adult daycare facilities. And I saw, like you said, and then it was like, well, why doesn't this, at this point in their lives, what have they been working on prior to this? Why isn't this already something we have? But anyway, parents, I want the parents to feel like they also are a part of this. And I always say, if I use the word worry too much, but I do worry that we haven't included our parents enough from the very beginning. So you've got the babies, you got the early starters, all the way through to graduation. Are the parents feeling like they understand and they've got a role and they've got a say and they've got, choices that they can make? And I feel like you're looking ahead is I know you include those parents. I've been to your IEPs. I've seen how, the parents are a big part of that team. So I feel like that's a big piece too, that we make sure we mention.
Well, and I think about it too, with these students, you do need to start earlier with that, because it takes longer to teach some of those things. And, like you think about like your triennial evaluation process, and you get to transition. Well, their birthday is here, and they're not turning 16 this IEP cycle, so we don't have to worry about that. You're right. We don't have to do any formal testing. We're not required to do any formal testing.
Right.
But I like to ask parents, what do you see for your child? You know, we haven't done charting the life course, but that is something that we're looking at in our functional cohorts. We have a Rockwood specific functional teacher cohort, and we meet on all of our PD days. And that is something we were actually, this last PD day, we were supposed to have a presenter from charting the life course, and there was something happened and they missed. So I think we'll be looking at that again. I am very interested in learning more about that. But I do like to ask parents, what are your goals for your kiddos? What do you hope to see them do later after school? Because that can help guide us now at the elementary level. Okay, these are the skills that we need. Okay, so here's the let's backwards plan so that we can teach all of those prerequisite skills.
And the carryover at home then. If the parents are a part of that, then they're going to make it a part of their routine. It's not us asking them, well, can you do this homework? Can you kind of like drill on this? You know, no, it makes it a difference, improvement in their lives as well. So yeah, no, good. I'm glad. So definitely looking ahead, I think you kind of already touched on, but worries. What are your concerns about kind of the way we do school and we do things now? Is, you know, what's something you'd like to fix? I mean, we talked about how it could be better, but is there something you want to point out that should be fixed?
With schooling?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a teacher, right? And there is such a big push for standardized testing. So, I mean, you look at this and, you know, we differentiate instruction, we individualize instruction, we have our individualized education plan, right? But yet then we're assessing them with standardized tests. And I hope this is okay to say, sitting through like some of our MAP A, you know, our alternative state assessment. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, like just some of the skills that we're having to hit for this. Yes, it is very, very important. However, if I don't have the communication to be able to demonstrate my knowledge under this, should I really be assessing this yet? Right. You know, we need to have the communication in order to communicate what we know. And so, and I think I am very fortunate in that aspect. I have an amazing team that supports me, right, and gives me the knowledge that I need and the training. And I have a wonderful administrator who supports that as well and understands the importance of teaching the communication and having such a big focus on communication in our classroom. And if we could do that, and I think that all of our students could be so much more successful, especially at the level of what, you know, we're teaching in my classroom. So I'm trying to stir up stuff here. The idea here, don't want to get in trouble for this, Cheryl. No.
The idea of, so back to, like you said, you know, what we talked about yesterday with charting the life course, you know, there's a I can't say the word, I should have to change it to trajectory. Anyway, what's going up, you know, so what's good and what's a challenge, you know, but I wish education was more, I guess I want everything to be like individualized too, as far as like, okay, in general, this is what we're working on. You got your students that are in general doing these things, but then we got our group of kiddos. I call them my kids. My kids are, you know, so let's make sure we're looking at them versus the system or what it's, you know, we wish it were. But then still show progress, show how we are making a difference. And what do we need to do next now? Okay, we got this. So what's the next step? And what's the next step? And I feel like a lot of time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears sometimes is poured into stuff that isn't going to make a life change for this kiddo. So I want all of your emphasis. I want all of your energy to be on what is going to make a difference and what's going to, you know, make their lives better. So that was just my infomercial there. But I feel there's change. We should be making changes. And I feel like now's the time.
increasing, I mean, it goes back to increasing your satisfaction with and quality of life, because we have some very complex needs. And
yeah,
you know.
yeah. And they're not going to just go away. I sometimes, well, if we work on this and this, he'll master it, and it's like, oh, his body is still going to be a challenge. It's not cooperating. It's not doing what it, we wish it could. And you don't learn from just being told once, you learn from experience. You learn from something being concrete and in the moment, there's a connection. And so I think we could be working on those skills easier if you had more time and more, less distractions on some of the other stuff. So as far as, let's go to the ABA part of it now. Okay, so now how have you merged these two worlds together in your classroom?
My goodness. Cheryl, it's just in everything that we do.
It is for you, but it's not for everybody else. So explain how you do that, Beth.
I mean, gosh, that's a loaded question, I think. I mean, it's in the way that I teach. It's in the way that I teach my paras. It's just in our delivery model. So, I mean, anything from, our prompting hierarchy when we're working with our students, up to, your traditional FBA and development of a behavior plan. So FBA, functional behavior assessment, and development of your behavior plan. So, I use my ABA when I'm teaching my paras using behavioral skills training. In even breaking it down, something as simple as teaching them how to operate the wheelchair lifts going up and down the stairs.
Okay, right.
So some simple as that, as up to teaching using the communication devices. So I'm very, very big on the prompting hierarchy. And also, whenever you're teaching something and you're needing to incorporate prompting, so extra assistance, you need to have that plan for fading the prompts. And so I'm very big on using that so that we're not over prompting, because again, there's a fine line, and you can, for one, we don't want to teach compliance. It's not about teaching compliance. It's about teaching them autonomy and their voice, and them being able to communicate what they want to communicate. Not my ideas, their own own thoughts. And, but also, and so, you can accidentally get into that very easily. And so, always using that prompting hierarchy so that you're using your least intrusive prompt and giving them the most independence. And then that also gets them quicker to mastery so that they're able to do it independently.
Right.
So,
okay. So make sure we're talking least to most with your prompt.
Yes. Yeah. So the majority, there's a lot of things that I use that are least to most. There are some skills that you need to use most to least prompting. And it's very individualized. It's by the skill, by the student. Also, it's a conversation with the parents and what they feel comfortable with, because I have some, it's all about, it's very situational. And so, but yeah, the majority is that least to most, especially after we have that incorporation. So, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah. Well, and I have found, again, speech pathology first, learned about ABA along the way. So I'm by no means, have any training, but I do find that it's not so much you do ABA, it's you think ABA, and I know it's true. It is everything we do through all of us. We do things that way, but when you think it. I think when you approach your kiddos, you're more aware, you're more cognizant of how you're doing things. Whereas if you don't have that kind of framework, I don't know. I can't think of an example of a negative of somebody did it wrong, but it's just I find you to be, again, more data driven. You are aware, towards I think sometimes and I'll say, so how's he doing? What's the percentage? And they're like, It's just, I don't know. I think there's too much sometimes coming at people and they can't keep it all straight. Whereas your brain is easy. You've compartmentalized it so that you can easily just say, oh yeah, we did this, this, and this. And so it makes it flow. So that's good. And I'm seeing good results from what you're doing. So I want to praise you for that.
Thank you. Well, and and then it all goes down to, I mean, you're looking at what is the function behind this. So it's kind of like the why. What is the purpose? So whether it's a maladaptive behavior or it's, I mean, anything that you do, why are you doing this? That's the function, right? And so are you trying to access something or someone? Are you trying to escape something or someone? Is it more internally? Is it more, sensory driven? And so when you can find that function, the why something is happening, then that gives you so much knowledge right there. Yeah. Oh, they're doing AB or they're doing A in order to get, because of XYZ, Right. And so once you know the why, then you're able to, okay, well, let's think of another way, something that's more functional, right? A better way, something that is more acceptable, might be easier for you to access or to get whatever it is that you're trying to do. And let's find a better way to do this. And then I'm going to teach it to you. Yeah. And I mean, that's behavior analysis. And
what makes perfect sense to me now that, the way you were just saying that, it was, again, I call them my babies because I think of them as little, when they go to middle school that I get all freaked out that they're growing up, and then they go to high school and I get even more freaked out, but it happens. Is, like you said, trying to get to, they don't know a different way. I think sometimes people, well, he's just doing it that way to, make us mad, or, it's like, no, he doesn't realize he can do it an easier way until we present it and we show it and we repeat it. And that's when I think, it all clicks. But I think
I had a really good analogy from one of my professors when I was in school. And she would say, think about like if you had a car that was broken down or a car that was dangerous to drive, right? Okay. But it was your only car, Cheryl. Yeah. Well, Cheryl, you can't drive that car. You shouldn't drive that car because it's dangerous. You could get hurt. And you're thinking, well, but I still have to go to work, right? Well, no, I'm telling you, no, you can't do this. Well, you're still going to drive the car because you have no other option. You can't think of any other option. No. So then it's my job as the behavior analyst to give you another option, another way to get there. And I'm going to teach you how to do that. I'm going to support you how to do that. And I'm also going to do it in a loving way. So I think, sometimes that's where I think ABA gets a bad name. And I think, the field has come a long way. Sorry, I got to put my little spiel in there too. Yeah. The field is coming a long way in that aspect of, it's not compliance driven. And, it's very much just trying to help people in a more functional way, because there are societal norms, right? And there are some societal norms you can break, and there's some societal norms that you can bend.
And there's some every day, all of us shake our head going, oh, they did that? Okay. So you're right. That's not just a school thing.
Right. And so there are more acceptable ways about doing things. And so sometimes you have to find a happy medium. And, so it's just it's just kind of ingrained in our classroom, I think. So, and I will say it's been a fun ride this year because I have, so we started out, we know that there's been a, what's the word? We had a lot of vacancies, right, across the district. Yes. We started with over 200 paraprofessional vacancies across the district. Yeah. Our building has 7 para positions. We started the year with 2. So you can only imagine how it's gone. And so there's been a lot of, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I have to throw you in and I'm going to train you on the way. So it's been, our classroom this year has really been a work in progress. And there's been a lot of not just teaching students, but teaching Paris too as we go. Yeah. No, like
I said, they come in needing all this information given to them. They don't have that already available. So the other thing I want to brag on you too, Beth, as far as last time I think I popped in, a lot of your students, we either have or we suspect a diagnosis of cortical vision impairment. And and Beth and I have, chatted several times about those kinds of things, but you've modified your room. You took on the extra effort to make sure the room was conducive. So I remember you hung up black, fabric so that there wasn't a lot of visual, we sometimes say, oh yeah, put stuff all over the place. Well, we know our kiddos with visual concerns, that's a lot of clutter. That's a lot of stuff to look at. So you took time to make sure there was black over things and help them to be more, focused and be able to attend better. So I appreciate the fact that as you learn new things, you take a hold of it. So that's
well, that's what it's there for, right? I mean, and that's what we're here for in the classroom. It is an ever-changing, complex room. It is a hard room because while it's functional skills, right? And you have I love that's how we do that in Rockwood. So we're able to have these specialty or these, kind of specialty rooms, but there's still such a wide variety. And, but honestly, I found, we have one formal diagnosis of cortical vision impairment, and then we have a couple that are suspected. And when you're looking even just at this level anyway, what's best for CVI is what's best for these other kiddos anyways. When you have, and I've seen some beautiful rooms, and I used to have that, and you have your visuals up there, and it's not just stuff on the wall. You use the visuals, they're there, and they're great teaching tools. So that is something I had to retrain myself, because I'm like, oh, but that's not up there. I can't use that as a teaching tool anymore. I had my word wall of my tangible symbols. And I had and we had to remove that and find other ways to support that. But I did find, even just working on those pre-readiness skills, can we sit at our table? Because our goal is inclusion, right? We're in an inclusive environment. We're in a gen ed school. Our goal is inclusion to the best extent possible. We want to think about that least restrictive environment. So we need to teach those skills. Can we go into gen ed? Can we? And yes, we can. Yes, we can go into gen ed. And how can we work towards building that stamina to stay in gen ed longer, right? And so our kiddos come, we're not sitting down at a desk. We can't sit there for any extent of time. We're not attending to the teacher. We're not attending to the smartboard or wherever the instruction is. So, that's embedded all in our everyday. When I took out that visual stimulation, that whole wall around the smartboard is all black, except for the smartboard. Whoops, knocked over my walkie-talkie. It was instantaneous. We have the focus. We know where to look, right? I found focus on me more because when we are practicing our group instruction, they're tracking me more because there's less visual stimulation. We know where to look. And so then I extended that across the room. It's not all black. That wall is black because the smartboard is white and it's light, right? But last year, I asked for some other room modifications. I asked for more storage because I had bookshelves, right? And then bookshelves covered with curtains, because in functional skills, there's a lot of manipulatives. There's a lot of stuff and equipment and assistive technology, and it's just a lot of visual clutter. And so I was doing the best I could, and so I asked for new storage compartments, and Woerther was so kind. And they were like, let's do it. Okay. And so
cabinets, you got the doors and
yes. And so I said, in a perfect world, this is what I would like. I said, however, I know that's very expensive. So is there what could we do? If I have to do open shelves, that's great, but then I want curtains that are all the same, so to lower that visual clutter. And so between me and the principal and the secretary, well, really, it was our secretary. She's a great shopper. Thank you, Robin. If you see this, she found some really great cabinets, and they purchased them and installed them over the summer. So I have a whole wall of really deep cabinets that shut and lock, and so it's just one color. And then my area coordinator, thank you, Emily, bought totes so that I could put them on top, because that's what we have to do. When we have such a small space too, that's where the clutter comes and all the equipment. So the only way we can go is up. And so it's much less visually stimulating, and it really, really helps.
That's great.
It's been such a blessing that to have for everybody to be on board and to understand. I mean, I definitely had to plead my case, but
but you were able to. You had the knowledge to do that. I was just thinking we should have classrooms with attics, right? It's like, so when you don't need something, you put it in the attic and then you bring it down. But haven't found that classroom yet, but that's something to think about. Maybe a new design for schools that they're going to build. All right. Well, I'm going to have to let you go because you're giving me some precious release or your plan time. So let's end with, we always end with our interviews with one of your most memorable AAC moments with any kids that you've worked with throughout your career.
Okay. And I just have to say that's so tough because it's what we do all day. And I know. Every moment.
And every time I've seen you, you've shared something with me that somebody has done. So I'm just thinking, was there one that just, kind of like, oh yeah.
So I am thinking of just this breakthrough moment that we had with a student. And this was several years ago. And we had recently, within the last year, transitioned from tangible symbols to POD. And what was I doing? I was doing some group instruction, and I want to say we were doing some adaptive writing task. And we were working, okay, let's do this, And I had a student who was whining a bit. She seemed visibly upset. And, I said, oh my goodness. Let's call her, I don't know, Janie. Oh, Janie, it looks like something's wrong. So, we get out our POD book and I model more to say. It looks like something's wrong. And she was able to communicate using eye gaze. So she would look at the book and her confirmation was to look back at me. Oh, it does look like something's wrong. And so, we were doing it that way using partner assisted scanning. And we had a breakthrough moment. She was able to tell us that something was wrong, that she was hot. Oh my goodness, you're hot. And we're looking around. Oh, okay. So the room was cold and I had turned on a space heater. And it was blowing. And looking at it, it was blowing directly on her and we didn't realize it. Oh my goodness, Janie, you're hot. Look, the space heater is blowing on you. Yes. She was able to tell us that she was hot. And so I asked her a question. Do you want me to turn this off? And she was able to answer and tell us, I'm too hot, turn it off. And it was just like, it was a breakthrough moment. And I think I teared up and it was great. And, we turned it off and we knew for sure that, okay. Cause sometimes you're like, wait, did I accidentally read it that way? No, because after it was off, we were good. We went back to the lesson.
She wasn't whining. She wasn't fussing. She was comfortable.
Happy, smiling. And, that was, and I think the part of the reason why that is so, not only, it was such a great moment for her, but also for us because it was a more complex breakthrough. It was like the very first multi-step breakthrough for us as a classroom too. Oh my gosh, look at, so it was just, it's something I will never forget.
Well, and just that example of and I know the student you're talking about, she had a very complex body. So I think sometimes, when somebody's fussy, we know something's wrong. We kind of figure that, but we don't sure what. We go to something more like internal. Oh, is your stomach hurting? Do you have a headache? And again, those are hard questions for our kids to answer. So I'm not telling you to do that, but it was an external, it was an environmental thing that you caused by turning on the space.
Yep.
She advocated for herself. She initiated with her fuss, but again, you guys read that. You knew she had something to say. You had the system. She was familiar with the fact that there was a system already set up, but you read her cues. You read her for her to tell you. So I love that. That's a great story.
Now, and she's no longer my student anymore, but before, even before when she was still my student, after that, it just took off. She was joking with us. She was teasing us, having a great time. So, it's, I think
that's good.
One of my all-time favorites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. Well, thank you for sharing your time, your experience, your knowledge with us. Like I said, I wish I could clone you and pass you out throughout all of St. Louis County.
Well, thanks, Cheryl.
And I want us to let people know if they have questions, if they'd like to get to know you better, is a good way to contact you.
Yeah, sure. You can always reach out with email. So my email address is Partney Elizabeth. So you can see down here is
on the screen. Yeah.
So it's Partney Elizabeth at rsdmo.org.
Okay.
So they can always email me. Or you could use my FSD email.
Partney.
EA Partney at
you're in the directory of SSD too. But also they can reach out to me and I could hook you up. So yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, Beth. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. It was great talking to you.
Yeah. And like I said, we need to, I need to pop in. I haven't physically been in your room for a while. So yeah, I'll be around.
I never need a scheduled visit. We will always.
And that's what I said. That's what I love is, I never feel like you're like, oh, Cheryl, what are you doing here? It's like, oh, Cheryl. So I appreciate that.
Well, because you always have great things to share with us, implement, and because that's what, we're always looking for that on how to.
And that's my favorite thing is it's just problem solving. It's like, you'll tell me something. I'm like, oh, what about, and then we go back and forth. So I love that. That's to me my favorite part of my job. All right. Well, I'm going to tell you bye and I will talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, Cheryl.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hi, guys. You want to play a game of checkers? It's Cheryl. I wanted to talk about how we could take a game that's known by all and, spice it up a bit. So this week we were talking about our kiddos with complex communication needs, and a lot of time, vision may be something that they're dealing with challenges for, CVI or, just decreased acuity. So there's all kinds of things that we could do possibly to help with vision, and also just to have more tangibles, things that they can touch and feel that maybe would help them to have a better understanding of what's going on with the game. So I have a checkers game. This is something you can check out from the IRC. I always think about Cracker Barrel when I see this game. So this large checkers. So I took it and said, well, what if we changed it up? So speaking of CVI, what if we put high contrast symbols on the checkers? Now I use the pod branches symbols just to have something quick and easy to show you guys, but anything with high contrast would be nice. So we could make it a matching game, trying to find the match. We could play checkers as it's intended to be played, but for our kiddos that maybe don't have all those life experiences playing checkers, we could make it do something else. So we could do that. We could also add objects. So these are little wooden puzzle pieces that I had found for stringing activity. So here's a few more. So I didn't use glue or hot glue. I used I don't know what you call these things. It's the sticky, like stuff that you can just peel off. Of course, I probably bought them at Michael's a while back, but they'll come off of these things, because this is the IRC's. This isn't mine to hot glue things to. So I've got pigs. So we can make it, have a little more depth to it. And we could, again, whether we're matching, whether we're playing, whether we're moving around, but I love the surface that these checkers provided, because it's nice and big and easy to hold. Another thing we could do is, what about some Easter eggs? These are the little Easter eggs. This is after Easter, so they were on clearance at Hobby Lobby. So I glued, again, my sticky tape stuff onto the surface of the checkers. But we could take that up a notch. And I've got a yellow one here too. So let's put these guys out here. And what if we had a mystery box, which is a Kleenex box? What if we make that something that we're going to reach inside and see which color we get to match to our egg? So we're not really playing checkers per se, but we are having fun. And we're going to be able to show everybody that we can, engage with an activity and maybe have a little competition on who can get the most. So these are things that I just did on a quick and easy minute to kind of spice up the game. But I also want to show you guys, in case you didn't know, because I wasn't aware of this till I put this out here, but on the back of this, we don't have to play checkers. We have tic-tac-toe. Got to clean up my game here. We have tic-tac-toe grids, and then there's a super tic-tac-toe. And then they talk about the super tic-tac-toe, you try to get the 4 in a row, 4 corners, or 4 in a square. So that helps to give us a little more diversity on what we're doing. All right, guys, check it out. Let me know what other things you thought of to do.
So for our innovative tip today, we are actually going to highlight a resource that was created from one of our own here in the ABA department, and it is this special school district ABA program, all related to AAC. What we really like about this is it does break it down and kind of translates between language and ABA programming. So it talks about teaching and making sure that we as communication partners are doing all of those great strategies like using aided language input and modeling, and paying attention to opportunities that the student themselves is showing us, whether it be through observation or pre-symbolic gestures like looking, pointing, pausing during activities, and it just highlights that within the instructions here under the teaching procedures. Then it breaks it down into different formats and areas where we're going to take some data, so looking at increasing the frequency of utterances, and then under number 2, increasing the independence of that communication through prompting methods, and then number 3 is carryover and extrapolating that skill across environments, activities, other people and places, and then just an overall manding or requesting of missing items. So then it breaks it down in the target list, looks at different pragmatic functions like comments, requests, protests, social exchanges, and talks about how you can take that data. So if you haven't already seen this or you haven't passed it along to your ABA support staff that is working with you and collaborating, this might be a good one to just kind of highlight and talk about together. Enjoy! Cheryl, it never fails. Every time we interview someone new, I learn something new. I'm so glad you got to sit down with Beth.
Yeah, no, it was fun. And yeah, I love the diversity of her experience. She has done all kinds of things and she brings it together. And to me, that's quite an achievement these days. Everybody's rushed, everybody's overwhelmed, but I can count on Beth to be listening and to think about, oh, well, let's do that. And she's modified things. Every time I've met her, she's doing something new and she shares it with me. So I appreciate that.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Well, hopefully our listeners found it as inspirational as I did, as well as our innovative tip and our trick this week. So we have one more week left. One more week until I think they're going to renew us for season 3, and we have some really exciting updates and new people to explore. But we'll leave a little teaser for that for next time. But we hope that you guys have a great week. As always, feel free to reach out if you have questions or comments or things that you want to hear and see on the podcast. But for now, we will say adieu. I'm Laura Hayes.
And I'm Cheryl Livingston.
For Innovative AAC Solutions, we'll see you next time.
Bye.